Hey guys, I'm Jay. Today is my LeetCode review vlog on the candy problem. There are n children standing in a line. Each child is assigned a rating value given in the integer array ratings. We are giving candies to these children subjected to the following requirements. First, each child must have at least one candy. Children with a higher rating get more candies than their neighbors. Finally, we have to return the minimum number of candies we need to have to distribute the candies to the children. Here comes the example. The first example, we got the rating of 3 children, 1, 0, 2, and the output should be 5. We can allocate to the first, second, and third child with 2, 1, 2 candies representatively. Then let's get started with our intuition and code. First, let's talk about the intuition for this problem. So the first idea that comes to my mind is the candy problem is a classic example of a greedy algorithm that requires distributing resources based on certain rules to minimize the total quantity used. For example, we have a rating array here, and we have to distribute candies to the children according to the rating array, and we have to do it with a minimum number of candies. So for the candy problem, we could use a 2-pass greedy approach to make sure each child gets the minimum number of candies that still satisfy the condition. So a key insight for solving the problem is to recognizing that the distribution of candies can be determined by looking at the ratings of a child in relation to their neighbors from both sides, left neighbor and the right neighbor. So our problem can be broke into two-pass approach. Two-pass approach. The first step is left to right pass. We have to make sure each child has more candies than their left neighbor. If their rating is higher. This is the first step. And the second step is in a reverse direction, which is right to left pass. After the first left to right pass, in the second step, we have to ensure every child also has more candies than their right neighbor. If their rating is higher. And that's our intuition. Two-pass approach, first is left to right, and the second step is right to left. Then let's get started with our code. And we'll writing a code with detailed explanation step by step. First, we have to create a candies array with the length of rating stop length. We have to use the candies array to collect all the minimum numbers for each child. But the first step is we can use the array.fill method to make sure each child can get at least one candy. which is the first rule that the problem asks for. A child must have at least one candy. Filled candies with one. And the second approach is, as we talked about before, it is the left to right pass. Left to right pass will iterate through the children from left to right for each children if their rating is higher than the previous child. We'll give them one more candy than the previous child. First, we can have a for loop, and int I equals 1, and then I is less than n, and we have to increment I after each iteration. The reason that we start at 1 because the zeroth child doesn't have left neighbor. And inside the for loop, we have to check if the ratings of I is bigger than ratings of I minus 1. If the statement is true, we have to make sure candies of I should be candies of I minus 1 and plus 1. So, with this code, we can adhere to the second rules. Children with higher rating get more candies than their neighbors. And if the statement is false, we don't have to do anything. And this is the second step, which is left to right pass. And then we have to do the right to left pass. Right to left pass. We can have another for loop and start it as ratings dot length and minus 2. As we all know, ratings dot length minus 1 is the last index, which is the last child. But the last child doesn't have his own right neighbor, so we can skip it. We can skip the last child. And the condition should be I is bigger than or equals to 0. Because the starting kid, the starting child has its right neighbor, and we have to decrement I as we traverse all the keys in a reversed direction. And inside the second for loop, we have to check ratings of I if is bigger than ratings of I plus 1. And if the statement is true, we have to check the maximum candies between candies of I and candies of I plus 1 and plus 1. We have to choose the bigger one, which is candies of I should be math.max of candies of I itself, and his right neighbor with one more candy. We have to choose the bigger value between them. Candies of I plus 1, which is the candies of his right neighbor, and with one more extra candy. And that's the third state. And in the last state, we have to collect all the candies from all the children, which is the candies array, and we have to sum up it. All the candies. So we can create another variable. Let's say total candies equals 0, and we have another for loop int I equals 0. I is less than ratings dot length, and increment I after each iteration. Inside the third for loop, we have to calculate all the candies. Total candies should pass the value of candies of I. And the final code is we have to return the value of total candies. That's all of code for this problem. Let's check for it. We can also analyze the time complexity and the space complexity. Oops, it shouldn't be n, it should be rating.length. So the time complexity, it is big O of n. As we traverse the ratings array with 2 times, but it is a linear time. We didn't have a nested for loop, so it is big O of n, and n stands for the length of the rating array. And the space complexity, it is also big O of n, as we create an candies array which has the same length with the rating length. So that's big O of n. And that's all for this LeetCode review vlog, candy problem. Thank you guys for watching. You can also check for the detailed notes on my GitHub repository here. I'll put the link on my YouTube description below. Thank you guys. See you next time.